Okay, so now that we've gone through the philosophy a little bit, let's go into sort of the more concrete, the nitty-gritty. What does it look like to actually have homeopathic treatment? So, as I mentioned quickly at the beginning, the point of a homeopathic intake or consult is to find the remedy that is most similar to your condition. So whether or not you are treating yourself or you are going to a professional, the goal is to essentially come up with a list of your own symptoms and match them to a remedy. Because of this, the consultation can take quite a while because it is so detailed. As I said, we have thousands of back pain remedies. We don't have 2. And if you come in with a cold, we have thousands of cold remedies, not just 2. So it takes a lot of work to really sort through all the different remedies. A consult with me is usually only an hour or 2, but people do like 3, 4, 5. I've even heard of like 6-hour intakes before with a professional homeopath. You get a lot of great information that way. I just don't do it because I don't like to sit still and talk about myself that long, so I feel bad if I try and get my patients to do the same thing. So what can be treated at? This is the question I get all the time. Can homeopathy treat XYZ? Can homeopathy treat this? Can homeopathy treat that? The basic answer is yes, always yes, because generally if you have a symptom, which means you feel different than you did when you were healthy, homeopathy can treat it. There are some caveats, which I'm going to go into in just a second. But so, if you have hearing troubles, yes, homeopathy could possibly help. If you have eye problems, yes, homeopathy could probably help. It really, if it's physical, if it's mental, it's an emotional, homeopathy could possibly help. Okay, but so some of the caveats are mechanical conditions. So if you break your bone and your bone is really not connected at all anymore, it needs to be set. A homeopathic remedy can't set it for you. Okay, so you probably do need to go get somebody to set the bone. However, you can take homeopathic remedies that help you heal faster and will decrease your pain in the meantime and after the bone is set. If you have a urinary stone, there are remedies that can help you pass it, but probably the fastest way of getting better is to get the stone removed because it's a mechanical thing, right? And so those are cases where I think integrated medicine, where working with the conventional model and using homeopathy, is fantastic because they are phenomenal at the mechanical conditions, really. If you have a degenerative disease or a genetic disease like cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, Alzheimer's, Huntington's, Parkinson's, those kinds of diseases, you really aren't going to expect a cure from homeopathy. It can be supportive. So my grandfather had Alzheimer's, and we took him to a homeopath, and he got a lot better in terms of he had all of these accessory symptoms. He had some mood changes, his digestion was all screwy, all that kind of stuff. That got better, but his memory didn't necessarily go away, and it's not like his Alzheimer's disappeared. His quality of life just improved, right? So it can be helpful, but we do have to monitor our expectations in those cases. Another example is tissue death. So homeopathy, as good as it is, can't bring dead stuff back. So if you have had tissue death for some reason, so a common example is if you get an ear infection, you can lose some hearing in an ear. And that's because the nerve is damaged. The nerve hasn't completely died, which is why you don't have no hearing, but parts of the nerve have really been damaged. And homeopathy can't bring that back because that tissue, the parts of the tissue have actually died. However, sometimes it can be helpful in that it helps optimize other tissues working. So if you've had muscle damage and part of the muscle has died, you might see some improvement with homeopathic treatment because the other muscles are firing better, but it's not going to bring your dead muscle back. Yeah. Okay, safety. So homeopathy is incredibly safe. It's been used for centuries in infants, people who are pregnant, people who are nursing, anybody who's been very weak for whatever reason, and there really haven't been many safety issues. I will talk about the few things that arise later on in the presentation. But I do want to mention, in emergency conditions, please go to the ER. Homeopathy can be great in emergency conditions. There are some great remedies for heart attack. There are some great remedies for strokes. You know, we have some stuff in our toolkit, but homeopaths in North America are not trained in emergency care because we really only see people outside of the hospital, right? If you go to India, maybe that's different. Maybe you can actually go in and get homeopathic care for your heart attack, but not here. So please, you know, wait until you're stable at the hospital before you call your homeopath. Please, please. So homeopathy works really quickly in general. For an acute condition like a cold, you should see improvement within an hour, maybe 2. If you don't see any difference in 2 hours, you may have the wrong remedy. Okay, because it should be pretty quick. Chronic conditions, much more variable. It really depends on the type of tissue involved, how long you've had the condition. And so, for an example, I had an arthritis case. He also had muscle spasms. The muscle spasms improved within a couple weeks, but the arthritis pain didn't get better for about 4 or 5 months. And if you think about the tissues involved, that makes sense. Muscle is going to heal a lot faster than bone. Bone and cartilage are super slow. And so you would expect that the muscle would heal faster than the bone, even though, unfortunately for him, the bone was really the thing that was most painful. But I also have patients who see an improvement instantly in chronic conditions. It really depends. And so remedies, they are made from minerals, plants, or animal parts. So for example, sepia is a common remedy. It's made from the ink of the cuttlefish. It's like the sepia ink. You know, we have all of those sepia filters. That's where it comes from, the ink of the cuttlefish. So they're made from natural sources. You really don't have to worry about where they're coming from in that way. And they are either a pill or a liquid. It depends on what form you prefer and what form your homeopath prefers. So side effects. So I alluded to this a little bit earlier when I was talking about safety. The main side effects you really want to be aware of is something called the homeopathic aggravation. So we will see, usually only if you have the correct remedy. So this is actually a really good sign if you have a homeopathic aggravation, that your symptoms will get slightly worse than they were before. So it shouldn't be too bad. If it's really uncomfortable, let your homeopath know, because there are ways that we can mitigate or decrease the aggravation. So please don't suffer in silence. Okay. And really what it means is that the remedy was likely correct, but the dose was so high. Was too high. So all that needs to be adjusted is the dosing. Now, if you're trying to use homeopathy on your own, there are lots of books and online sources to help you find remedies. This is really easier in a simple case, like a cold, a flu, that kind of thing. UTI, you know, and it's fantastic because, especially even if you have a homeopath, sometimes these things will come on at night. They'll come on the weekends. You wake up at 2 in the morning and you have a full-blown cold, you know, and your homeopath's not working then. And so it's great to be able to do a little bit on your own. The books are generally pretty accurate. Homeopathic House Call, however, is an online program that's really fantastic. The other online programs don't really seem to be quite as effective. Like, as in, you don't find the correct remedy quite as easily. Consulting a professional. So I recommend this most in chronic cases. They really just become so complex. I would recommend you see a professional. And by chronic, I really mean anything that's been going on for longer than a month and it's continuing. So even a headache, if it lasts for 2 days, but keeps coming back once a month, once every other month, that is still technically a chronic condition. So finding a homeopath in North America is not always the easiest. So sorry to make it for the bad news. But the problem is homeopaths really aren't regulated much in North America, which means anybody can call themselves a homeopath, and it's really hard to know what their knowledge base is. Have they been to school? How much do they know? How do they study? It's hard to know. So pay attention to their bio, to what they've done, so that you don't end up with somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing. There are a lot of lists online that say they have lists of professional homeopaths. None of them are really complete because there's no one regulating body that everybody has to register with. And as a professional, we have to pay usually to get on every single list. And so you might only pay to be on 1 or 2 lists, and you're trying to be on the better lists that you can, or the more complete lists, but you're not going to be on every list, which for patient I know is really difficult because it's hard to know where to look. In Ontario, specifically where I am, that is a little bit easier because actually we are regulated in Ontario. So all homeopaths have to pass a exam to show competency and register with the College of Homeopaths of Ontario. So you will find me on the Ontario list. I have the link there. It's the only list you'll find me on because I don't like to pay to be on lists. But that's just me. If you are in Ontario, the public insurance, OHIP, does not cover homeopathic treatment, but sometimes you will get private insurance companies that do. So you'll have to just look at your own insurance plan. So that's it for me today. Please email me if you have any questions. I love to talk about homeopathy. I will gladly answer any email that's homeopathy related. And I do offer free 15-minute phone calls if you want to talk to me about something in the talk, or just learn more about homeopathy. We can chat. So my email's here, my website's here. Get in contact if you want. I really hope this was informative, and I really hope it made homeopathy a little bit more clear for you.